This is the BRIO 36107 arch bridge, and I'm going to give you 5 ways it will enhance your BRIO train track layouts. Number 1. Unlike other bridges, the arch bridge can be used in different ways. You can combine both sections together to create a more traditional humpback or viaduct style bridge, which has enough space for a track beneath it, or you can separate it and place the included short track length between the two sections to create an expanded bridge. When you compare this bridge against the classic wooden viaduct bridge, you will see that the total track span is longer in its smallest setup. This helps with creating better track layouts, especially figure 8 circuits, as you don't need to rely on the tolerance between the joints in order to make a complete circuit. So that's what you had, was a medium straight and a long straight. And when you try and do that in a figure of 8, that medium and long, it never married up. You have to rely a lot on the BRIO system. So this being the equivalent of 2 of these, I think is a much better solution, and will open up some other avenues in the future for track layouts. Number 2, enhance grip for battery trains. If you ever run battery trains on your track layouts, you will likely note that they sometimes stutter on wooden tracks near the top through lack of grip. The arch bridge, however, has grooves in the wheel tracks to assist with this, ensuring trains ride up and down smoothly. The bridge also has ballast and railway detailing on the way up and down the bridge sections, and the rockwork on the sides have nice floral decals included. This piece was first introduced in 2024 in the 36090 starter travel set in a grey colour, but this is the first time you're able to buy this as an accessory. Number 3. Less supports are needed for elevated lines. Now this is a massive benefit for building tracks, as it reduces the total amount of supports that you require when constructing elevated lines, allowing you to use the supports you have in other areas or create multiple elevated sections in your tracks. Now, getting hold of support pieces, there are various different types of supports available. You've got your sort of classic rock supports, the newer gripping supports, there's the girder style support, super supports, and then sort of classic wooden piers. There's also the like the monorail style supports, and a few other sort of one-off support pieces as well. But apart from the ascending curves pack, which comes with a number of these, it's very difficult to get hold of these supports now. There isn't a support pack. There used to be a super support pack, which only came with sort of 2 of in it. You can still buy a pair of the stacking supports, but with the bit of track, it kind of not really the same. So it is quite difficult at the moment to get hold of support pieces. But the advantage this bridge has is that it doesn't really need those. Because it's got these built-in support pieces at the top of each piece, this little bit of track will sit comfortably between it. Number 4. This bridge also gives you extra space beneath it, allowing for more train tracks to pass under. Here you'll see us testing this out with various track lengths and curves and comparing it against the equivalent size bridge using super supports. You can place any length straight between. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of extra options, is that we can place these longer bits of track. Or, if we needed to, shorter. What I find interesting with this is you have the rocks underneath here. So these rock pieces, as mentioned, they fold out. Now, the interesting part I find is that they actually lift the track up. So you can see here, the track is ever so slightly higher than the base when they're folded in. Now the reason for this, we believe, is the thickness of this plastic piece here for the track. And obviously it needs to be that thick so that your thickness of the wooden track can recess in so that you can expand it. If they didn't have the option for this, they could have made this thinner with the two pieces connecting together. So what happens here is when you're running it with the track split like this, the wood itself is just that little bit higher so that your train can pass underneath it without issue. When you're putting it together like this, those two pieces that fold up, those rock pieces, just lift the bridge up ever so slightly, which enables enough space for your train to still pass under. If we have this split like this, we fold these pieces up. The piece that comes with it, this short straight here, we put that there. How many bits of track can we fit underneath that short train, short piece of track? So we can get 3 pieces under there comfortably. Now, with another style, if we wanted, say, to use this, and say we use these wooden pillars, or let's use super supports, they're a more common support that people would likely have. We put those two there, we don't have the space. Now we could possibly push the track in a bit, but we're still not going to meet that. So the equivalent here, we'll maybe get 2 tracks under it with our trains. So this immediately gives us more tracks that can pass underneath the bridge in comparison to the more typical way. And we don't need those 2 extra supports in order to do so. Now, if we expand that out a bit further, if we change this out, so we'll start small. When you have it like that, it's only going to be 1 track. If we put a little short piece in, we can get 2 tracks. If you have an A3, elusive A3 piece, it's still only going to be 2 tracks, but you've got a bit more space. So if you needed to do a curve, you potentially could do a bend underneath that. So, for example, if we had a couple of bends here, we could likely get 2 bends underneath here like this, because we've got a little bit more space. So that's the A3. We go for the shorter one. As said, we can get 3 tracks. We can equally get 1 straight and a couple of curves under there. We go for the medium. Again, if we keep those, we should be able to now get a 4th track. So that would be 4 straights, or 2 straights, 2 curves. So again, plenty of space there. And I think if we step up 1 more time, again, bring that over here, there, we can definitely get 1 more in. So that'll be 3 straights and 2 curves. But I suspect we can get, depends how tight you want to be with your tracks, but you could potentially get up to 6 tracks underneath a long D straight. But it's not just long straights that we can use. The nice thing with this is we can also use curves. And again, with curves, we've got the option of being able to now run multiple tracks underneath that curve while still connecting either side. Again, with being able to run curves through it. Here, here, and here. So we've got options there to be able to do sort of 3 tracks with plenty of space. So I just think this opens up the doors to so many more possibilities by being able to do this. And stability wise is fine, you know, there's no issues with that. And just as an example, we can also do the short curve, and again we can still get two curve sections underneath that, or 2 straight sections. So again, still gives us lots of options of being able to use this bridge in multiple ways. Now, before we come to number 5, if you're enjoying this video, give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We have an upcoming video comparing all of our BRIO bridges to see what is the best BRIO bridge available to buy right now. So make sure you've got notifications on and you'll be the first to see that in the coming weeks. And number 5, this has to be the best benefit of this set by far, and that's the ability to elevate switches. You will have no doubt tried to do this before and likely found some kind of workaround to enable you to do it. I know we have. But despite the various different types of supports or bridge sections that BRIO make, until now elevating a switch in a non-precarious way has not been possible. And here's why. Nib here always made it difficult to support. You could kind of balance it by placing it in the groove, but that doesn't work with straights, that would only work with curves. So you were kind of limited on what you could do with them. But because this is all internal, we can now do that. And if we again use one of these wooden supports here, we have to put it on a little bit of an angle, but we can now run track off of here, elevated without issue. Now you'll find this is a little bit high, and that's because we don't have the rock pieces down. So lowering that down, that just gets us to the perfect height of another pier. But that allows us to elevate a switch, and we can use both types of that. You can also do it with the smaller switches, albeit you just have to swap these round. So instead, we have to do it that way. So we have the curving section, because this is inset on this one, like this piece is inset on this one. So that was a great discovery when we started playing around with this, was discovering being able to elevate switches. It wasn't something that we were anticipating. So yeah, that was a pleasant discovery. So in my mind, this alone is worth picking up this piece. If you don't already own this from the starter set, then yeah, if you want to be able to elevate switches, pick up the new 36107 arch bridge for sure. So that's 5 ways that the BRIO 36107 arch bridge will enhance your train track layouts. And if you want to know what train can navigate this bridge the fastest, then watch this video on screen next, where we put the BRIO 36019 pullback train through 10 different grueling tests to see how well it performed.